Hey guys, how's it going? My name is xSlantFox, and today I wanted to talk to you about the Mastery Rank 30 test and what it's like to finish your journey in Warframe. I've been playing Warframe for quite a while, I think at least 1200 hours, and the Mastery Rank 30 test was kind of a big deal for me. I thought it would be like the last thing that I did, and I'd never log in again afterwards. And just about half of that was right. I don't think it was the best thing I ever did. And I did log in afterwards. But, being the mid-maxer that I am, I saw this test as an opportunity to play to the meta and try to do things the right way. And what I want to do with this video is I want to show you that doing things the mid-max way isn't always the best way to do things. The Mastery Rank 30 is a several-part, five-step, maybe 15-step, depending on how you count it. It's a test to see if you can really do everything in Warframe. And it is very, very easily trivialized in my mind by having a Cronin Prime and just playing the meta. You can see the first time that I did the test, I went with a very typical setup, something that I like. The way I'm starting right now is I'm starting with Mesa, I'm starting with Ignis Wraith, which is my favorite weapon by far, and Stropha, which I've been having a really good time with, and like a Kuva Brak or something like that. I wasn't familiar with the test. I had watched a couple videos, so I might have known a few things here and there. But honestly, the things that bothered me the most about the test were just the things that bother most Warframe players, in my opinion. Things like falling off a stage, or knockdown effects, or thinking you're doing a good job when you're not actually doing a good job. And so I want to go over the parts of the test to make sure that you guys know what you're getting into. And I want to make sure everyone can do this and succeed in a way that they feel is good for them. The first thing I want to say is that you don't have to use Mesa. You don't have to use anything. What you should be using is what you feel most comfortable with. If you feel like you can get kills with any kind of weapon, any good weapon, then do that. I picked Mesa because I thought it was a crowd favorite, and I thought I would be able to aim down the bots a lot faster, just with like the quick fire that Mesa has. And I didn't succeed in the first time I took the test. I actually had to take the test 2 times. So the footage that you're viewing right now is from my first half of the test. And what you should know about this footage is it is 3 parts per phase, I think, and the phases repeat 5 times to make sure you have a good grasp of everything that is Warframe. So there are the arbitration drones, as well as some kill targets like bosses, and waves of trash that you have to clear, and then life capsules that you have to pick up, like it was a survival mission. When you go to pick up these capsules, if you miss like several void dashes and you just drop into the void without picking up these capsules, the 5 or 10 seconds that you lose is actually kind of important to this. And I think the only thing that's really important is that you have a good melee weapon. And I hate to say it, but like, meta is so kind of important and so kind of forced in this test that you really do need a good melee weapon. Right now in my Mesa video, I'm using Stropha with a heavy attack crit build, and it's killing most things in 1 to 2 hits, but it's still not delivering that kind of oomph that like a lot of the other weapons have, like Cronin Prime with Sovereign Outcast and like a viral build, or like a Zaw, Blind Justice Zaw, a Blind Justice Zaw with, just your standard status crit nonsense or whatever it is. So I'm using the Stropha here, and I can kill the boss targets pretty well, but every once in a while I run into a boss target that takes 8 or 9 heavy attack shots, and I just don't manage to kill it within a timely fashion. And I did get really, really close, but I did run out of time. So instead of taking Mesa and being like, oh, I'm going to run the meta and I'm going to use the meta weapons. You should honestly use whatever you're most comfortable with. And I would kind of recommend that you don't void dash. You can still use energy packs, so just use energy packs if you're an energy fiend, like some people are. And the reason why I recommend melee is because if you're meleeing enemies, you pick up the life support capsules very instantly, which you might not do if you're using ranged. Like there's a life support capsule here that I have to go get, or there's a couple of them, and I got really, really close. So this is the last bit. It's stage 5 out of 5. I've killed all the trash, and right now I have to kill 10 bosses, and this is where you're most likely to fail this test. Me spending 8 seconds trying to kill that corrupted heavy gunner with Mesa was probably the reason why I failed. And then I spend another 20 seconds or so trying to do the same thing with this guy, where a lot of people who just use melee kind of bypass this. And I don't know if it says something about how strong melee is right now, or how lots of weapons are unfair at a whole, but this test is hard, and you should show up prepared for the fact that it is hard. So this video is definitely a little bit of a rant, but I will tell you what I did use and how I succeeded with it. Warframe is broken in a lot of ways, and the second time I showed up for the mastery test, I decided to abuse what was broken. Hildren cannot die, and I thought, bringing Hildren a Warframe that cannot die is probably a smart thing to do. So you could bring Hildren. I brought Rhino in this case because he has a nice buff and I'm really comfortable with Rhino. I like Rhino because I hate knockdowns. I think knockdowns are like the worst part of Warframe, and they've been in the game for 6 years or something like that. And in my mind, the amount of time that you lose from knockdowns by playing a Warframe that isn't Rhino or Atlas or somebody who has some kind of overshield status negating proc effect. I don't know if Inaros can even resist knockdowns, but I hate knockdowns with a burning passion. And just being able to play the game freely without the knockdowns was a huge improvement for me. So I think I'm still using Ignis Wraith, and I'm using it with a viral heat proc build. And then I have Cronin Prime with a viral crit proc build. And I can torch most of the enemies in seconds with like a few hits with no combo. Like 25 combo, I can melt the boss type enemies. And the second time I did this, it was so much easier. I did mess up several times. I messed up with trying to use Operator to get to one of the life support capsules when I should have just been trying to play the game naturally. And if you show up with what you feel is natural, that has like quick kill potential, I think you'll do perfectly fine. Don't fall off the stage. Don't bring anything that's unusual. Don't bring anything that takes time. Some people might say, oh, bring Octavia. You're invincible. The enemies will kill themselves. Just bring something straightforward. Bring something normal, neutral, straightforward, and just try to play the game in the way that you normally do. If you try to play the game the normal way, I think the only issue that you're going to have is that occasionally these arbitration guys spawn. So here's another part where I messed up. I tried to void dash over to this thing, and I actually lost like 15 seconds or something like that by trying to void dash over to this instead of just running and dashing the normal way. But play the way you want, do what you want, kill stuff the way that you want, and if you can't do it, do the meta. Bring Cronin Prime, bring some invincible Warframe nonsense, and hopefully DE will have a way to look at the stats, and they'll be able to see stuff, and they'll be able to say, oh, like every single person has used Cronin Prime on this, which would be a big deal for me, because I think that the way things are right now is kind of shitty. To kind of expect players to conform to whatever is best is definitely not what they want. And I know that they're trying to take steps to fix it, but it really feels like they aren't fixing it at all, and they aren't trying to put things out the right way at all. Every single new weapon comes out is like some kind of power creep, or some kind of nonsense where it's like, oh, this weapon is good because ... And if the weapon is good, people use it. And if the weapon is not good, people don't use it. And I think that the way the game is, people not using weapons because they're not good, because they're not fun, because they don't kill shit, is a bad thing. Like, I'm using Cronin Prime in this because I was literally unable to beat the game the way that I wanted to play it. I tried to show up the way that I thought was good, and it wasn't enough. And then being forced to bring something that was more meta really set me off in a certain way. So here I am finishing, pretty much. I'm killing the last of the bosses on wave 5. And then right after I kill this, all you have to do is grab one more life support capsule, and then you win. So here's me grabbing that life support capsule, and I want to thank the Warframe developers for several good years of interesting content, interesting stuff, and I do think that this came at a really good time. I do think it's very achievable if you've done everything, and it'll only get more achievable as more new stuff comes out. I'm really hoping that they won't try to make it less achievable by reducing the amount of things that come out in the future. But once you've hit MR30, your goal is complete. Your journey's done. Keep leveling stuff because you feel like it. Otherwise, just grind for platinum, try to find some good ribbons, try to set some records. Enjoy the fact that you have the little 30 icon, which I always wanted. And maybe go to the relays and try to buff some people. If you're totally confused like I was like, how to buff? And nobody told me. But there's a little usable thing right here. It's like a blessing station where you can bless with the blessings that you want. So thank you everyone for checking things out. Thank you for hanging out with me to my MR30 journey. And, get out there, bless your Tenno, and try to enjoy the game. And try to stick with it and help out those new players because they're going to need it a lot more than you do. So good luck to everyone, and I'll see you out there.